This is Uprising. I'm Sonali Kohatkar. On November 20th, when President Obama announced that he was using his discretionary power as president to take executive action on immigration, pro-immigrant communities celebrated, hoping it meant undocumented immigrants and their families were protected, while conservative anti-immigrant groups accused the president of illegal overreach and offering amnesty. What the president actually offered was perhaps something in between. He outlined policies that would enable only a portion of the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. to apply for temporary relief from deportation. Only about 4 million people may actually be eligible to apply, and of those, no one is actually guaranteed anything. The action comes 2 years after Obama offered temporary relief to a segment of the so-called Dreamers, young immigrants who came to the U.S. as minors and knew only this nation as their home. That policy was called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, and only about half of those eligible even applied. The new policy is called Deferred Action for Parental Accountability, or DAPA. So who is eligible for relief from deportation and for how long? What sort of process will they have to go through? Who is not eligible and why? Joining us to answer those questions is my guest, Jessica Karp. She's a staff attorney with the National Day Labor Organizing Network. Welcome to Uprising, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Well, first, let us talk about who is eligible. It's called DAPA, as I understand. And one of the things that I understand that the president's policy does is that it does expand who is eligible for the earlier policy. And it allows the parents of U.S. citizens and permanent residents, not the folks eligible under DACA, but U.S. citizens and permanent residents' parents are now possibly eligible to apply. Is that accurate?
That's right. So with respect to the DACA program, which is the program that President Obama established in 2002, it removes the age cap. And so DACA is a program that allows people who came here as children, grew up here, went to high school here, to legalize their status temporarily. Previously, you had to be under 31. So for example, if you came at the age of 5, had lived here for 30 years, you were actually ineligible for the previous DACA program because you had aged out. The new expanded program removes that age cap, and it changes the date from which you had to have been living in the U.S. It used to be 2012, and now it pushes it to 2010.
So does it remove the age cap entirely?
Yes, it removes the age cap.
So what does that mean about how many more people could possibly be eligible under that original program? And the 4 million that are eligible under what President Obama announced, does it include those?
They're separate. So
Okay.
this expansion of DACA is much smaller than the 4 million. It's a few 100,000 people. And some of these are, as I said, the most compelling cases, because the idea behind DACA is that people who've grown up in the United States, who've known no other country, and who've, gotten an education here should be able to contribute to the country, should be able to work lawfully. And that includes, obviously, people who are over 30 but have lived here since their childhood.
Right. So then let's talk about the parents of people who are U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents, so so-called green card holders as we think of them. These are not parents whose children may be undocumented and come here as minors. These are simply parents of people who are already citizens and who might have come on a visa and overstayed, etc., right?
That's correct. They're parents of U.S. citizens and lawful residents. And that means that at some point in the future, under current existing immigration laws, a visa will be available to them, but in many cases it's not for decades. A child can't sponsor his or her parents for a visa until she's 21 years old. And so, for example, the parent of a 5-year-old U.S. citizen would be waiting 16 years to get that visa. So what this program does is temporarily legalize the status of those parents who eventually will have a visa available for them.
So